my name is Stefan Cartman. Welcome to my studio. Today, I'd like to talk about an open string exercise that I assign to all of my students as a part of their daily warm-up. The exercise is designed to help with feel for the string, feel for the resistance of the string, consistency of contact throughout the bow stroke from one end to the other, and also for competent bow changes. So here's how we begin the exercise. At first, I would like to turn the metronome on to 60, and from this speed, I'd like to start the string for about a quarter of a bow and have a clear beginning without it being too highly articulated, but with a clear sound at the beginning of the stroke that exactly coincides with the click of the metronome. Now, one of the things that you'll notice when you first start to do this exercise is that it's not so easy to get the string to speak clearly from a completely stopped string. Sometimes we get too hard of an articulation, and sometimes the sound kind of slithers in and you don't really get good contact until after the beginning of the bow stroke. So what I want is for that sound to be immediate without being a hard articulation. That was too hard. So it's important that you keep your hand and your thumb soft when you start this bow stroke. And you'll feel as if your pressure is coming into the stroke quite quickly, and yet it doesn't come in before the bow stroke begins. And you could see how the second one I had a little too much pressure. So the idea is that once you begin your first bow stroke, you're going to allow the string to ring, and then it's your job, after it's ringing, to find the speed that's appropriate so that you can get the sound to continue with the click and not stop in between. Now you can see that those were not exactly correct with the beginning of the click, but I'm striving at this point just to kind of get that feeling of timing and to keep the string continuing in its path. Not good. Okay, some of those were delayed, but it's getting a little better. And as you study, what you're trying to do is get a feeling for this bow stroke where you can get just about exactly a quarter of the bow stroke, and that you release directly on that, and that the string is allowed to ring afterwards. Okay, the next portion of this is to start the string each time from a stopped status, which means that you'll have to take your left hand and stop the string after you play the stroke. You'll see it's a significantly different feeling between hitting the string as it's already moving. Okay, once you feel pretty accomplished in doing that bow stroke at the frog, the next thing I'd like you to do is take 4 counts, play a nice straight bow, and get out to the other end of the bow. Now at this end, I'd like you to do exactly the same thing that we did at the frog, except this time I'm going to have you leave the bow on the string while the string rings. It'll be very light and the string won't stop. Now I'm letting the bow come back to its original starting point at the tip, and then I'm going to start it again. Now after you've done that and become good at it, then you'll take the bow completely off the string. Now you'll see that this task at the tip is significantly more challenging when you first try to do it than it was at the frog, because holding your weight above the string and then allowing your hand to relax is a skill that needs to be developed. And then of course we'll go to stopping the string next. Now you have to play around a little bit with proximity of the bridge. If you're too close to the bridge, you won't quite get a quarter of a bow. And if you're too far from the bridge, it'll take about a half a bow before you can come back. And I really am trying to find a uniform speed that's 4 counts for a whole bow. Okay? So what we're going to do after we do these beginnings, so there's three versions at the tip. One where you leave it on the string, one where you take it off, and one where you stop the string in between. Okay, that takes care of starting the string at both ends. Now what I'd like you to do is take the bow after you've been doing these stop string runs and go all the way to the frog again in 4 counts. Now at this point we'll go directly into bow changes that happen at the frog and in the middle. And this is going to be for 2 counts. So the bow speed is going to be exactly the same, uniform from what we did before when we were starting and using 1/4 of the bow. This time we're going to go exactly to the middle, and we're going to do that in 2 counts. Okay, so now that skill that we built of being able to start the string from a full stop and from continuous motion is going to help a lot on the bow changes, because sometimes we do our bow changes perfectly and sometimes they're less than perfect. And if they're less than perfect, the string will stop a little bit, and that's when that feel that we had for starting a stop string comes into play. Also, if the string does continuously move, we're used to continuing that motion because we did the string from a continuous motion, and we hope for that on every bow change, but sometimes it doesn't happen, and that's why we developed that skill early on. We'll have to develop that skill on our bow change in the middle now. So 2 counts. And you want to see this continuous band of the string vibrating back and forth. It makes a nice gray band in front of your, if you're looking in the mirror, as you look at it, you can see that the string widens in its vibrations. Okay, so after you've done that from the frog to the middle, then you'll go 4 counts to the other end. And now we'll do bow changes from the end to the middle. Now, at this point, we've done bow changes at the frog and at the tip and at the middle. And now I think it would be good if we can do bow changes in some other portions of the bow. By the time we get good at bow changes in every single bit of the bow, then we've got a competent bow change no matter what situation is thrown at us in real life repertoire. So after we've done the bow changes from the tip to the middle, then again we're going to go back to the frog, and this time we're going to use 1/3 of the bow, and again the same speed. And in order to get that same speed, we're going to do a dotted 1/4 note. So it's going to be syncopated with the metronome. So we go into the end, 4 counts, and we do dotted 1/4 notes. And we can do the same thing at the other end, 4 counts to the end, dotted 1/4 notes. Now we're going to go to the middle third, 3 counts, and then dotted 1/4 notes. We're going to go to the end in 3 counts. Now half a bow and 4 1/4 notes. All the way to the other end in 4 counts. Half a bow, 2 counts, 4 counts for 1/4 notes. And my suggestion is that for each one of these individual proportions of the bow, whether it's 1/4 of it, 1/3 of it, 1/2 of it, or the whole bow, if you feel like your bow change hasn't been good in any part of it, you can do just that portion of the exercise, and you can repeat it as many times as you feel comfortable doing. Eventually, when you're good at all of these bow changes in different parts, for instance, if you've done this several days in a row, you'll find that you really don't need many repetitions in order for this to work. So that's how to do the exercise, and thanks for joining my studio.